This is the audio of the checkpoint for context clues, supporting details, cause and effect, chapter 3 and 4, passages of To Kill a Mockingbird. So, the following scene occurs after Scout gives Walter Cunningham a hard time about putting molasses all over his food. The following conversation is between Calpurnia and Scout. "There's some folks who don't eat like us," Calpurnia whispered fiercely, "but you ain't called on to contradict him at the table when they don't. That boy's your company, and if he wants to eat up the tablecloth, you let him, you hear?" "He ain't company, Cal. He's just a Cunningham." "Hush your mouth. Don't matter who they are. Anybody sets foot in this house, your company, and don't you let me catch you remarking on their ways like you was so high and mighty. Your folks might be better than the Cunninghams, but it don't count for nothing the way you're disgracing 'em. If you can't act fit to eat at table, then you could just set here and eat in the kitchen." Calpurnia sent me through the swinging door to the dining room with a stinging smack. I retrieved my plate and finished dinner in the kitchen, thankful, though, that I was spared the humiliation of facing them again. I told Calpurnia to just wait. I'd fix her. One of these days, when she wasn't looking, I'd go off and drown myself in Barker's Eddy, and then she'd be sorry. Question number 1 is a seek and find. What is Scout's punishment for criticizing Walter? She had to go to her room without any dinner. She had to apologize to Walter for being rude.
Attention all resource teachers.
She had to eat her dinner in the kitchen away from everyone. She had to sit with everyone, but she was not allowed to speak.
Resource teachers, please check your email.
Number 2, context clues. So remember, we're still using this passage, so you're going to concentrate on the word fiercely here. So, "There's some folks who don't eat like us," Calpurnia whispered fiercely, "but you ain't called on to contradict him at the table when they don't. That boy's your company. If he wants to eat up the tablecloth, you let him, you hear?" So the word fiercely here most nearly means frantically, gently, happily, or angrily. Number 3, supporting details. Same passage. Which of the following details best supports the given conclusion? So here's the conclusion, and you're going to pick the detail that supports it. Even though Scout is younger, she is starting to understand that there's a class system in Maycomb, meaning that there's like a social ranking system. "He ain't company, Cal. He's just a Cunningham. That boy's your company. If he wants to eat up the tablecloth, you let him, you hear?" Or, "There's some folks who don't eat like us," Calpurnia whispered fiercely, "but you ain't called on to contradict him at the table when they don't." Cause and effect. Number 4. Complete the following cause and effect statement. Because Scout has never experienced extreme poverty, so this is an implied cause and effect, she feels sorry for Walter, she tricks Walter into putting molasses on his dinner, she encourages Walter to come over for dinner, she has a hard time understanding Walter's eating habits, and she believes she is better than Walter. Number 5. New passage. Atticus said the Yules had been the disgrace of Maycomb for 3 generations. None of them had done an honest day's work in his recollection. He said that some Christmas, when he was getting rid of the tree, he would take me with him and show me where and how they lived. They were people, but they lived like animals. "They can go to school anytime they want to, when they show the faintest symptom of wanting an education," said Atticus. "There are ways of keeping them in school by force, but it's silly to force people like the Yules into a new environment." "If I didn't go to school, you'd force me to." "Let us leave it at this," said Atticus dryly. "You, Miss Scoutfinch, are of the common folk. You must obey the law." He said that the Yules were members of an exclusive society made up of Yules. In certain circumstances, the common folk judiciously allowed them certain privileges by the simple method of becoming blind to some of the Yules' activities. They didn't have to go to school, for one thing. Another thing, Mr. Bob Yule, Burris's father, was permitted to hunt and trap out of season. "Atticus, that's bad," I said. "In Maycomb County, hunting out of season was a misdemeanor at law, a capital felony in the eyes of the populace." "It's against the law, all right," said my father, "and it's certainly bad, but when a man spends his relief checks on green whiskey, his children have a way of crying from hunger pains. I don't know of any landowner around here who begrudges those children any game their father can hit." Okay, seek and find. So look in the passage. Why does Atticus say Scout must attend school? Because she is a girl and women are required to get an education? Because she is of the common folk and must obey the law? Because if she didn't, he would be ashamed of her? Because she is expected to become a lawyer, just like Atticus. Number 6, context clues. "It's against the law, all right," said my father, "and it's certainly bad, but when a man spends his relief checks on green whiskey, his children have a way of crying from hunger pains. I don't know of any landowner around here who begrudges those children any game their father can hit." The word begrudges most nearly means wishes, hesitates to give, happily gives, or envies, which would mean like is jealous of. Number 7, supporting details. Which of the following details best supports the given conclusion? So we're trying to prove this conclusion. The Yules are viewed as outsiders in Maycomb. So which of these details proves that? You, Miss Scout Finch, are of the common folk. You must obey the law. He said that some Christmas, when he was getting rid of the tree, he would take me with him and show me where and how they lived. If I didn't go to school tomorrow, you'd force me to. He said that the Yules were members of an exclusive society made up of Yules. Number 8. This is a cause and effect. Complete the following cause and effect statement. Because the town members do not want the Yule children to starve, they allow them to live like animals. They allow Bob Yule to hunt out of season. They do not require the children to go to school. They view the Yules as a disgrace to Maycomb. Next passage. The remainder of my school days were no more auspicious than the first. Indeed, they were an endless project that slowly evolved into a unit in which miles of construction paper and wax crayon were expanded by the state of Alabama in its well-meaning but fruitless efforts to teach me group dynamics. What Jem called the Dewey Decimal System was school-wide by the end of my first year, so I had no chance to compare it with other teaching techniques. I could only look around me. Atticus, my uncle, who went to school at home, knew everything, at least what one didn't know the other did. Furthermore, I couldn't help noticing that my father had served for years in the state legislature, elected each time without opposition, innocent of the adjustment my teachers thought essential to the development of good citizenship. Jem, educated on a half-decimal, half-dunce-cap basis, seemed to function effectively alone or in a group, but Jem was a poor example. No tutorial system devised by man could have stopped him from getting at books. As for me, I knew nothing except what I gathered from Time magazine and reading everything I could lay hands on at home. But as I inched sluggishly along the treadmill of Maycomb County school system, I could not help receiving the impression that I was being cheated out of something, out of what I knew not, yet I did not believe that 12 years of unrelieved boredom was exactly what the state had in mind for me. Number 9, seek and find. Which of the following reasons does Scout give for not needing to go to school? Calpurnia had already offered to continue schooling her at home. Atticus and her uncle were educated at home, and they are two of the smartest people she knows. She already knew how to read, so she argued she could teach herself. Or Scout said she did not want to be a lawyer anymore, and since she just wanted to do odd jobs around town, going to school would be unnecessary. Number 10, context clues. The remainder of my school days were no more auspicious than the first. Indeed, they were an endless project that slowly evolved into a unit in which miles of construction paper and wax crayon were expended by the state of Alabama in its well-meaning but fruitless efforts to teach me group dynamics. Here, the word auspicious most nearly means favorable, unfavorable, golden, or bright. Number 11, supporting details. Which of the following two details best support the given conclusion? The conclusion you're trying to prove with these two details is Scout does not find school beneficial to her education. So you're going to choose 2 of these 4 that prove that Scout does not find school to be a benefit to her education. As I inched sluggishly along the treadmill of the Maycomb County school system, I could not help receiving the impression that I was being cheated out of something. What Jem called the Dewey Decimal System was school-wide by the end of my first year. Indeed, they were an endless project that slowly evolved into a unit in which miles of construction paper and wax crayon were expended by the state of Alabama in its well-meaning but fruitless efforts to teach me group dynamics. I could only look around me. Atticus and my uncle, who went to school at home, knew everything. And the last question is a cause and effect question. Complete the following cause and effect statement. Because Scout has advanced skills when it comes to reading and writing, she finds the projects at school boring and a waste of time. Atticus decides to homeschool her in hope of bettering her education. She sees the value in going to school every day, or she loves going to school.